guys, we will go ahead and get started. Um, Welcome and thank you all for joining the We Stutter at Work April um, we- um, webinar. We don't really appreciate you joining us. I think this is the second one that we've done in the evening, and the turnout has been pretty good. So we definitely appreciate you joining us at the end of your day and at the beginning of your evening to be with us. And this month we are talking about speaking at work. And I know that we have addressed this um, topic in some past webinars, but tonight my co-host um, Frank and I we wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the topic and kind of expand the boundaries of what we think about when it comes to public speaking and um, and and how it impacts us um, 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 at work and some of the challenges um, that um, that it could present for all of us. So first, Frank and I are going to go over some of our thoughts and perspectives on public speaking and kind of set up an overview for the um, topic, and then we will go to our panel of professionals who stutter who are joining us this evening, um, ask them a few questions and give them an opportunity to share some of their experience and insight into the topic. Then we're gonna go to you guys, the attendees, give you a chance to ask questions of us or the panelists, and also to share some of your own stories and experiences at, um, at, um, as well. So I'm going to share my screen with you.
Derek, if you don't mind, let me just remind people, if you're not speaking, to keep your mic on mute, please.
Yes, that is yes, yeah, I actually forgot to mention that part. Um 1 second. Okay. And to start things off, I'm gonna have myself and Frank to um to um to um to to introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit about us. My name is Derek Mitchell, and I'm currently the leader of the NSA Atlanta chapter. I've been involved in the NSA for about 8 years. I'm also um, serving on the We Stutter at Work committee for about a year and a half or 2 years, I believe, and that's been a pleasure. Um, Professionally, I work in the project management field in multiple roles as a project manager as well as a business analyst. And I worked um, um, in this area with technology companies and as well as in education. Go, you can go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Derek. My name is Frank Stechel, and I am also a member of the employment committee, the At Work Employment Committee. I live in New Jersey. I am currently and happily retired, but I used to work for the New York State Education Department in the Vocational Rehabilitation Agency. I worked there for 31 years, and I worked as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, as a supervisor, and as a manager of our Brooklyn office. I did quite a bit of public speaking during those years, both in terms of working with my staff and leading staff meetings, as well as speaking to community agencies about the services that our agency provided. But since my retirement, I really haven't done very much of this. So it's good to be in this role this evening, and I'm sure we'll have a very interesting webinar. So at that, Eric is going to take over, describe the NSA.
And for those of you who are fairly new and not as familiar with the NSA, the National Stuttering Association is a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing hope and empowerment to adults and children who stutter, their families and professionals through support, education, advocacy, and research.
So I would like to describe some of the activities of the We Stutter at Work program. As it says here, it's all about helping people who stutter achieve career success through practice online job interviews. Members of the committee that we belong to donate our time to work with individuals who are either going for job interviews or are intending to go for job interviews, and we do mock interviews, as well as discussing stuttering and job interview related concerns generally. We also obviously do webinars. This is one of many webinars you can find on the westutter.org career success site. There are all kinds of webinars that discuss many areas of stuttering at work. We also have a career profile section where we have, I think, about 60 individuals who stutter, who are in all kinds of fields, and there are profiles on them that describe what they do and who they work for. And we also do employer education, both through our group and through the various support groups that the NSA has. And all of these things can be found at the westutter.org career success site. I just want to mention, because I think the NSA would like me to mention, and I think this would be a good spot just to mention the NSA annual conference is being held in Austin, Texas, the week of July 7th to July 11th. And you can find information on how to register for the conference and hotel accommodations at the westutter.org site. And with that, Derek is going to give you some guidelines.
Right. So we're going to go over some housekeeping, and so these guidelines are just to ensure that everyone feels respected, protected, and comfortable with sharing during the webinar. First, if you are not speaking, please place yourself on mute to avoid any excessive background noise. Two, please utilize the raise your hand feature, which I believe is under the reaction button. If you want to signal that you would like to share something or ask a question. And and lastly, if you are pre-registered, you will be informed when the webinar recording is available online. And to get into our topic, Frank can start us off.
So when I discussed with Derek how we should arrange this, the first thing that came up is exactly what is public speaking. So if you look in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, they have two definitions of public speaking. The first definition, I think, is fairly obvious and is what most people probably consider to be public speaking, meaning the act or process of making speeches in public. And I want to say in that regard, and I think I don't know whether this is coincidence or providence, that we're giving this webinar at the very moment when President Biden, the first president who's a person who stutters, is going to give his State of the Union address, probably the most important address that he's made or that he will make. And he's doing that as a person who stutters. That's not to imply that we're going to campaign or become a president of the United States, but it does show what someone who stutters can do. The second definition is the one we really want to emphasize this evening, which is the art of effective oral communication with an audience. And that is really what we want to address this evening, because public speaking involves not just giving a speech and not just giving a formal speech. It involves all kinds of communication, oral communication communication where you have an intended subject and an intended aim to the communication that you're going to make. And we have some examples of that, which Eric is going to speak about.
Thank you, Frank. So, when Frank and I met and started brainstorming and really delved into this issue, we thought about our own work experience as well as experience um, um, people who you know, and thought about in what situations, especially for people who stutter, does speaking cause some level of discomfort, fear, or 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 anxiety. Um, just besides being in front of a captive audience and giving out information, what are those other high pressure situations at work that involve speaking? And this is what we came up with. The first is staff meetings. Even if you aren't leading or facilitating a staff meeting, I'm sure we have all had some high pressure um, um, experiences in this situation. Um, for example, think about how many of us have been in meetings and had to introduce ourselves um, to everyone else in the meeting. That by itself causes a high level of pressure and and anxiety. And also think about if you were called on unexpectedly to to answer a question or give an update on something. That also causes anxiety as well. Two is the sales pitch. Now, this is a bit different because even though this is still in front of a captive audience and giving information, you are looking for a result, which even adds um, to the pressure. It's not just giving out information and just hoping that people comprehend and get it. It's wanting a result on the other side of it. And so when Frank brought up this example, I thought about when I had to deliver my graduate um, thesis. It wasn't just another presentation um, 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 that I would just get through and just be glad that it was over. My degree was on the other side of that presentation, and the pitch to my audience was is because of or in spite of what you've seen of my performance, please let me graduate. And so there was a whole nother level of pressure um, in that circumstance. There is an elevator update. Have you ever had an experience of where you were going to lunch or just going to visit with another coworker, and you get on the elevator, and someone who you were worked on a project with or report to got on and started asking you questions about your work on the spot? And even though these kind of moments can appear to be pretty um, um, casual because because it's just one on one, it still is high pressure because not only are you focused on your fluency, but also focused on whether or not the information you are giving um, is accurate and also puts you in your work in the best light um, possible. And of course, it's the dreaded job interview. And while you're not standing in front of an audience, you are sitting across from one person or several people who really kind of hold um, your fate in their hand to a certain extent. They can give you the thumbs up or thumbs down regarding an opportunity that you're seeking. Conference calls. Now, since more of us are on video calls now with Zoom, WebEx, or um, or Teams, the conference call has taken on a different dynamic. But whether it's strictly over the phone or on video, these situations still can bring about a lot of fear and and anxiety, because you're still being put on the spot with people who you don't even see, but you still need to give information to, um, if need be, and paint yourself in the best light. And lastly, are the first day introductions. Now, these are always tough because you just don't know how people will respond to you. And I've been in positions where, with the first day um, intros are, is just someone walking me around the office and meeting everybody one on one. But for the last job um, that um, that I was on, that first day introduction was during our morning stand up meeting, and that was pretty much in a small um, in a circle with 15 other people, and having to introduce myself, and it's quite enough to hear a pin drop. And what I didn't know is that really the impression that you gave in that first introduction really set the tone for how the team would receive you, because that's what they did after me. And so luckily, I made a good impression. But those first intros are very can be very intimidating, because you just don't know how people will respond um, to you or your speech. And so, to kind of summarize this, the analogy that I was thinking of, as Frank and I um, um, worked on this, is that if you were a business, um, if you yourself were a business, your voice would be the client and customer facing side of your business. It's the public side. Um, it's what you use to communicate, um, um, information, make a good first impression. So your voice is public. So in that sense, really, all speaking to a large extent is public speaking. And with that in mind, we are going to um, move to our panel, and I'm going to stop sharing here if it will let me. Okay. So we are going to move to our panel. Ask them a few rounds of questions, and and get some of their insight and experiences. And prior to the webinar, we shared with them our perspective on public speaking. So they'll be sharing a lot of what they experience at work, not just standing up in front of an audience, but um, but but holistically with everything that they do, how public speaking and communication impacts them, and I would give them each a couple of minutes to introduce themselves and to tell you a little bit about them. And Gregory, you can go first.
Thank you, Derek. So I am Greg Jenkins. I'm a military officer working in IT project project management. Um, right now, I am stationed over in Hawaii. I've been to a couple different bases, and what I love about my job is I get to do kind of both the introverted side of me, and then also the sometimes like outgoing part of me too. Um, hey Derek, did you want me to move to the questions or let the next panelist introduce?
Oh yeah, yeah, just wanted you to give a quick introduction, and then Sage can go next.
Yeah. My name is Seijol Manali. I'm located right now in Kuwait. It is actually about 4 a.m. here. And I am currently the director of corporate communications in my company. And I guess what I love about my job is every day, every day is something new. Usual day, the in, investor relations side, and that is something that I do enjoy.
Thank you, Sage. Ward, you are next.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, Ward, you go
Hey,
ahead.
you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Ward Jarvis. I am a firefighter in Paducah, Kentucky, and my job allows me a lot of speaking opportunities and in a variety of contexts with different types of audiences. And one thing I love about the job is that it's something new every day. I don't know exactly what's coming, but um, it's a job that keeps me on my toes and uh, keeps plenty of challenges coming my way.
Thank you, Ward. Mm. And so now we are going to go into the question portion with our panelists. So guys, just to make sure that no one is talking over each other, when you can go ahead and raise your hand when you want to answer the question, and then we'll go ahead and pass it to you. So Frank, go ahead with the first question.
Okay, so the first question is, how does public speaking impact you at work and how you do your job? So how does it impact you? How does public speaking impact you on the job, and how you do it? I don't know. Does Greg? Maybe we should go in order. Want to go in?
Sure, Greg can go. Can go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, it's changed the longer that I've stayed in. So initially, uh, being a young officer, you're expected to be confident, to lead, uh, to be the voice, and to also be that person for people who have 5, 10, 15, 20 years, more than you. And so for me, it was initially super hard. The confidence wasn't there. Um, the competence wasn't there, and it was also weird being that same as everyone else. I think that for me, probably 70-ish% of the time, my stutter is kind of mild, and then the rest of the time it elevates to a little more moderate. And it was difficult in the beginning where I would make a great first impression, and then of course you have a day where uh, now you're forced in front of 50 200 people, and um, I'm it's not one of my more fluent fu- more fluent days, right? Um, I would say that it's impacted me by actually um, by making me want to get better at the skill, uh, personally, as opposed to professionally. Um, it's become one of just my personal goals to improve it, and um, it's it's helped me to grow in a lot of ways that I didn't plan for. So when I first got to my first base, and I noticed that this is the person that I'm supposed to be, and it's not who I actually see myself as. Uh, I talked to my first commander. I said, "Hey, sir, I'm definitely nowhere near where the stereotypical, officer should be in terms of public speaking confidence and everything." And I just actually asked him, "Hey, could you throw me in front of people?" Because I knew that I'd rather ask it on my own terms versus have him do it. I'm not even expecting it. I don't want it. At least with me getting him behind me, I was able to kind of guide the narrative. I was able to prepare for. I was able to say, I don't want to do that, but kind of do this thing over here, right? And so that kind of helped me to get more comfortable with it. And then with that, it also kind of gave me a cheerleader. Um, I'll be honest. When I first got to my first base, I would say my stutter was definitely more moderate, to the point where someone told me after I'd actually left that they were actually concerned about me as a leader. Um, and as my commander just keeps just throwing me into situations, and then he would give me feedback, and then I had a lot of mentors, um, who saw the leader in me that I didn't see myself. They gave me more tailored feedback, and helped me to just work through it. So I had a lot of great mentors who just kind of helped me out. And whenever I would have one of those days where it just does not come out right, I actually had a pretty strong support system, back in my first space. So it still impacts me today. I'm about at 6 years, and um, it doesn't worry me as much as it used to. So sorry for going kind of long though.
Thank you, Greg. Sage, would you like to speak on this?
Sure. So, how public speaking is actually part of what I do. It's part of what I need to do at work as being the director of corporate communications. So I'm basically the face and voice of the company externally. Um, when it comes to shareholders and the media and interviews. So I guess if I wasn't able to do it properly, I wouldn't be in this job. It does affect me a lot because I do know that if I mess up, I could potentially lose my job. Um, because of what I need to do, and also because of the location where I am. I'm in the Middle East, and um, unfortunately, the people on this side of the world are not as understanding, I guess, or open when it comes to someone who stutters, and it's still considered a sign of weakness, and it's taboo to talk about. But how I'm able to manage that is, I guess, I'm one of those who I guess are called covert stutterers. And even when I am put in front of a certain reporter or shareholder, or during board meetings or such, um, I tend to, the first thing I need to do is take control over what's being said, because I cannot be scripted. I cannot be a covert stutterer and be scripted at the same time, because if I'm scripted, um, I won't be able to control the words that I say, and the stuttering is going to be more out there. And another challenge, I guess, that I do have when it comes to public speaking is I am able to be more covert in English than Arabic, because English is my first language. But when I speak in Arabic, it turns into a little of a mess, and sometimes I am required to speak in that language as well. So it impacts me every day. I think about it every day. It scares me, but I've been doing this for 13, 14 years, and still going strong, I hope.
Thank you. And Ward, would you like? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on one second,
Derek?
you guys. Sage, thank you for sharing all that. But if you could, I wanted you to share one more thing with us. So you are covert, but but you told me a story. This was a few years ago, of something that you did that was very brave, considering all the factors that you just mentioned. And this was a situation where you disclosed to someone that was high up in your company. You mind talking about that?
Sure, Derek. Thank you. So I report directly to the CEO of the company, and I had just been um, I was involved with the NSA, and I was starting to embrace the stuttering more, and feel more comfortable in my own skin. And I thought that, I'm going to try to disclose and see what happens. And me and my boss, the CEO, we have a good, trusting, working relationship. So I told him, once that I need to take like a couple of weeks off, because I'm going to a conference, and he told me, out of curiosity, what conference is this, and I told him I'm going to the NSA, and I explained to him what that is. So he looks at me, and then he gets up and he closes the door of the office. And this is where I was very sure that it was going to be an issue. And then he sat down and told me, "So you're telling me that my director of corporate communication stutters?" And I told him, "Yeah." And then he told me, "My son stutters. I need your help." And that just changed the whole course of going to work. I mean, to know that my boss is not only aware of it, but he seeks my help every now and then now to help his son, because his son goes through a stutter. So thanks for reminding me of that, Derek.
Um,
There you go.
no problem, and thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful and um um um, 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 an inspiring experience.
Ward, would you like to comment?
Sure. Um, yeah, it's great stuff from Sage and Greg, and a lot of my story and the way it impacts me is a lot of overlap. You know, obviously with Greg in the military and me in emergency management, there is that expectation for what would be called a command presence, and that's a challenge for people who stutter. You know, not only are we trying to manage how we're being perceived, but we're having to manage our, you know, our sound, you know, how we sound and things. And so, um, you know, where my focus is just sometimes just communicating, you know, just not blocking, basically, you know, not blocking is a success for me. Whereas, you know, some people in my field would see it as, well, you didn't say it forcefully enough or with enough command presence. And here I am just saying, well, I'm just glad it came out. You know, that's a success. So, but you know, it's interesting because it does impact me definitely. It impacts me in ways that um, may surprise some people. You know, on the emergency end of things, I'm a lot more comfortable, um, and rarely have any issues, you know, on fire scenes when I'm having to communicate over the radio. But areas where I have consistent difficulty and where it does impact me would be like on morning radio checks, you know, complete non emergency traffic over the radio where I have to have a script, where I have to follow a script, as Sage mentioned. You know, Stutters. I joke with people. I say I'd rather recite the Gettysburg Address in front of 50,000 people than say Engine One radio check in the morning. Um, I experienced a lot of blocking there, and have various ways that I've dealt with that. You know, over the past 7 years. Um, but yeah, it definitely impacts me. Um, on a daily basis.
Thank you for sharing that, Ward. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So now, for our second question for the panel, what has been your most difficult public speaking situation at work, and how did you work through it? Greg, you can go first.
So for me, that would have been when I was first joining the first joining the military. I was going through training. We were at the very end of it, and probably 2 hours before we had to do like our final presentation. Well, actually, our first and final. So, like the very last thing before finishing training, we had to do like an hour long like out brief about everything, and I was given, I want to say it was 3 slides in particular to talk about in front of everyone, and it was the reason why this was horrible was because one slide was extremely complicated for no apparent reason. Only the military can overcomplicate a simple task, and it was just shapes and arrows and a few words and things just scattered everywhere. And um, I spent probably the next hour and 15 minutes practicing just that one slide. Just I didn't care about the next two. I said if I can survive this first part, I can survive the next two. Next two were what the normal person would actually create, right? It just made sense, right? So I focused intently, and I sat down with somebody and he just drilled me for a good hour and some change on that one slide, reading it over and over and over, identifying specific syllables that I need to slow down on. Um, he looked at like my body language with it. Um, and then I spent maybe 10, 20 minutes on the next two slides. And what that one taught me was preparation for me is everything. Um, when I'm given time to actually prepare to walk through, okay, this is what I'm going to say, but these syllables I'm probably going to block on. I'll walk through it. I'll walk through it until it no longer scares. It no longer scares me in the moment when it's probably gonna come up. And then I'll think about my transitions. I'll think about my breathing. So having that much time to prepare, having that much time to see, hey, when I get to this part of the presentation, I hate double L's. I hate 'em with the passion, right? So I know that it's coming up right here. Let me slow down for a second. Let me just pause. If I don't have my presentation, my preparation time, it's significantly harder in the beginning. Um, so for me, that's really how I work through them. I would also say that uh, I try to make it a habit of never getting too comfortable. So I will try to do, even if it's like a 3 minute talk or a 1 minute talk. I know that the moment that I stop speaking in public, um, the fear for me comes back. The the uh, the loss of clarity when I'm speaking is is very real. Me being able to control my speech a little bit when I hit that adrenaline is gone if I break the habit of public speaking, right? So for me, I found that I have to keep the habit. I have to keep it up. Otherwise, when I do get back into it, and I don't have as much time to prepare, or I am more flustered by my emotions or just being tired, it's gonna be significantly worse. So for me, preparation, the habit of just doing it over and over and over again, even if it's to two people, I have to keep on doing it. And then me personally, as a man of faith, I pray beforehand. I always pray, and then I know that regardless of just how bad it goes, I'll survive. So all of that together for me is what gets me through it, whether it goes the exact way that I want to, or I want to cry after it.
Mhm.
um, but all that, I typically walk away going, um, uh, I'm proud of me for how I prepared, how I executed, and then I can now walk away going, regardless of what someone says, I'm proud of me, so I'm cool. Like, this is sweet, done.
Mhm.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, that was um yeah, that was very powerful. As someone just said in the chat. Sage, you go ahead. Okay. Well, go ahead, Ward.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, kind of again, kind of continuing with what Greg said, but um, reminding myself a lot that I am going to survive, even though oftentimes we don't feel like we're going to survive in the moment, right? And so preparing um, and giving myself a lot of reminders is one way that I deal with it as well. Um, I have a uh, we have a routine, so I know what's coming every shift at the beginning of every shift in terms of our morning radio checks. Where I have to check like 5 radios, and one of the things I've done to kind of prepare and kind of manage the experience better from my end has been I obviously know everyone I work with, and that makes me a lot more comfortable. And I don't really stutter when I'm speaking face to face with my coworkers. But um, we have central dispatch, and I didn't know any of those people, but I was talking with them on a daily basis. So I took a day where I just went and spent the day with them and let them, I got to know them, they got to know me, and I just felt like it put me in a better position, kind of knowing who is on the other end of the radio, listening to me stutter. So those are the ways, um, I've tried to be proactive and, deal with my stuttering in the fire service.
Great, great. Thanks for sharing that. Said you have anything to add?
Sure. Well, my I guess the most difficult time that I've had was I guess when I first started one of the jobs that I also had, and I was a manager corporate communications at the time, and we had a strategy day where the entire basically the entire company gets together and presents their department's strategy to the board, and to the executives. And I prepared it with my boss, who was going to present the full strategy. And then that morning, she calls me and tells me that she's sick and that she cannot come to to present the strategy. Talking about this now, I can still remember the anxiety, and I actually just wanted to resign. I thought I would save face if I just walked up to my boss right then and there and told him, I just quit. I thought it would be better than embarrassing myself, and I was afraid of that. But no one knew at the time. I hadn't disclosed my stutter to anyone, and I honestly, Derek, I still don't know how I got through it. But since I prepared the strategy with my boss at the time, I was well aware of it. So the only thing that I was able to do is I didn't follow the script. We had the slides up, but then I just went through it the way I could do best, and it took, I think it was 15 minutes, but it sure felt like 10 hours. And I guess I still don't know how I got through it, but I did. And then I did ask a coworker after if I stuttered, and then he was shocked, and he asked me if I do stutter. That answered the question, so I knew that I thought it was all in my head. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we all have those tough moments where, we got a decision, we can face it, or we can run away from it. And so it's just great to to hear about those instances where people, like you did, you face it head on and you get through it, you know, and feel better about it um 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 on the other side of it.
Derek, there's a couple interesting questions in the chat. Is it okay if we go to one or two of them?
Sure, we can go ahead and get to some of the questions.
Yeah, because there's quite a few here, and I don't want to lose sight of any of them. But Joseph asked if anybody on the panel has had speech therapy, and whether it was useful or not.
I'll just say I had speech. I've as a child I started speech therapy around the age of 4, and I know it was very helpful for my parents. Um, just helping them wrap their head around the reality of having a child that stutters. And I started to remember it in elementary school. I had a wonderful lady who worked with me every week. Really, I say really worked with my personality. She saw that I wasn't a shy person, so there's no reason to be shy because I stuttered, and so she really kind of forced me out of my shell. And we had a standing phone call every week to Dillard's department stores to ask for red sweaters, and I credit her a lot. Had she not kind of set me on that trajectory, I may be, in a basement crunching numbers and not doing something I love. So, uh, yeah, yeah. I personally have had a good experience, throughout my childhood with speech therapy.
There's another question which several people have chimed in about. Has anybody on the panel been involved with Toastmasters, and how has that helped your communication? Derek, you did Toastmasters, right?
Yes, yeah, I'll go ahead and answer that one.
Mhm.
So, I got involved in Toastmasters in 2015, and it was because I had been given a role as a project manager, which, if anybody is familiar with project management, it's pretty much a leadership position, which requires a lot of communication. This was something that I was not prepared for, because I really wanted to take a path that would have me at my desk analyzing data and not really interacting with people at all. But at that time, at that time, with the company that I was with, that just wasn't an option, and what they needed was a project manager. And so I struggled for a few months in that position, you know, leading meetings with like 15 or 20 people, trying to facilitate conference calls, and it was rough. And then one of my work friends, who I didn't know at the time, was the president of our Toastmasters club at work. If I would have known that, I probably would have avoided her. But she started inviting me out, and she would ask me every week, and eventually I told her, like, "Look, lady, I don't want to do this, and you know why. You know I stutter, and you know why I don't want to come to your club." But she kept going. So I went one time. I was in a cold sweat the entire time. It was so uncomfortable. I told her, "Okay, I came once. Now just leave me alone." What she did is I went to a director that I worked on a project with, and somehow got him to sponsor me for a year. And so now it wasn't just an option; it became an unofficial part of my professional development. So at that point in time, I couldn't say no. So I had two choices. I was either going to join and just just sit in the audience every week and just not participate, or I could get involved and really be present. So I chose to give it a shot and really dedicated myself to overcoming my fear of public speaking. So I joined in May of 2015, deathly afraid to give a speech in front of um, 5 people, and by that um, November, I was giving a speech in front of a ballroom full of people in a contest, um, which I came in third place for. And so, in less than a year, I had conquered a lifetime of of being afraid of public speaking. So for me, it definitely it was a life changing experience, because just that experience led to so many other things in my life um that wouldn't have happened. And you know and today I can say that I am a different person as as a result of Toastmasters.
Chris Monello has a question. And Chris, if you wouldn't mind, do you want to just unmute and ask yourself, because it's a great question. If you don't mind being put on the spot.
Sure. Hey Pam, hey everybody else. So my question's specifically to Sage. So how do you balance over preparing for a meeting versus sort of being a natural? And the reason why I'm curious is because I'm getting more exposure at work. So my boss is EVP and his boss is managing director. So I've let my boss know about my stutter, but I haven't advertised to my boss's boss. So it's kind of like a tricky situation. I wanna prepare, but I also don't want to be robotic. So any sort of advice that you could share on finding like a happy balance?
Thanks for the question, Chris. Wow, that is an excellent question. The only way I guess I can answer that question is to reflect on one of the times where we had a shareholder webinar, and I had to communicate to all shareholders. I remember what happened was that I was over preparing to the extent that without knowing I was scripting myself. I think that's something that, I mean, I'm not going to speak on behalf of all the stutterers, but I think there's a common theme. When we all say we don't want to be scripted, we don't want to be told what to say. We would like to choose what to say, based on what type of blocks that we have. So what I found works for me is to not put much into preparing if it's a weekly meeting or if it's some type of a presentation I have to give. I do not practice or rehearse that more than 2 times, just so I could understand in my mind the flow of the conversation and where I would like to take it. And then I just let it go and allow things to happen naturally. What helps me is controlling the conversation. If I'm able to control the conversation, then I'm able to steer it away from situations or a question where I know I may have an issue with. Now, reporting or dealing with your boss's boss, uh, and someone who you have not disclosed to, I also understand the feeling there. And um, I guess, Chris, if you're able to control the situation, able to control the conversation, and that would be the best thing that I can tell you. Also, trying to develop a type of relationship with that person. So, in that job where I was left to present the strategy, my boss's boss was the vice president of strategy and portfolio, and I knew that I would be dealing with him occasionally. So I would make it an effort to stand next to him and have some coffee or ask him how his day's going. And with time, we developed a kind of not a friendship, but a better relationship, which put me a little more at ease. I don't know if this answers what you asked, Chris, but I hope it does a little bit.
It does, 100%. Thank you, Sage. That makes a lot of sense.
You
Connor
are very
Quinn.
welcome.
I'm sorry, Connor Quinn makes a good point in the chat. Connor, if you don't mind, would you share?
Yes. What about how you feel after you speak in front of a group? Is that the yeah, like when, like how great is it, how tense you feel when you're about to share, and then at the end you get like everybody like claps, and if you get the reward of feeling good after you stressed out for so much time and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of think everybody can relate to that. It was just a really good point, and thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, sure.
So guys, we have about 10 minutes left. If anybody else has any questions for the panel, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll get to you. Go ahead, John. Guys, actually use the raise your hand feature on that's under the reaction button.
I'll try to be quick. I'll try to be fast. I've noticed that when I speak in a foreign language, it helps me. I can grasp the foreign language almost easier than English. I mean, I find that it takes me out of myself. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, recently I found that I have Asperger's syndrome, and I've been trying to figure out, did I have a learning disability, or what did I have? So anyway, that's the end of my story. I thought, did everyone hear that?
Yep. We heard it.
Did everyone hear that?
Yep.
Yep.
We heard it, John.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to say is, I think that part of my stuttering problem was that I apparently have Asperger's syndrome, and so you find out things as you grow older, and I am old.
Thank you for sharing that, John. Kunal was next.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just a question for Sage. You know, how have you really accepted yourself and let go of that fear of judgment in a society that, from what you've shared, isn't very accepting, like of you and your stutter? So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts of how you've actually accepted yourself given those dynamics.
Well, unfortunately, I had good practice as made by my. So I guess I developed thick skin when I was quite a child. Um, I grew up in the U.S., but lived a large part of my life in the Middle East, and I understood that with time. It's not only not being accepted here, but it's a source of embarrassment. So my mom and dad used to be embarrassed about it, and I was always a talker, I guess. So I always wanted to communicate. So I guess I guess I developed thick skin, and um, when at work, that's one of the reasons why I don't disclose, and I sometimes I'm so covert that it sometimes feels like putting on a different suit in the morning and not kind of being who I am. Uh, but that's what has gotten me by. But my close friends here do know that I stutter, and I still experience it if I do have a bad day. Um, I will tell you one thing is not as it is in the US. But I guess if I didn't have thick skin and I wasn't okay with it and didn't have that practice when I was as a child, I guess it would beat me down. But I just don't let it. I just don't allow it.
Thank you, Sage. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up is Abimbola.
Hi.
How are you?
So I'm very well, thank you. Thanks everyone. So I will read out my question. I've sent it in the chat box. Okay, so sometimes I worry that never be entrusted with leadership at work, even though I think that I'm technically competent. I look around where I work and I've worked in several other places, and I am not aware of any leader that stutters openly. And I just wanted to ask: is this a real or a perceived worry? Because I don't know, it is very worrisome to me, anyways. Yeah, so that's my question. I think anyone can answer. Did you hear me? I'm not sure.
Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I'd just say it's definitely real, right? And everything we're navigating in the workplace is relevant to our comfort level and our performance. And I would just encourage you that like you said, you wouldn't be in these positions if you didn't have a great skill set. So believe in that, and expand it out, and put yourself out there, for some opportunities that may be there to step into some leadership roles. Um, I would just encourage you to be, you know, uh, talk to people about it. Share your interest in taking on those roles. If if that's something that you um, want to do.
Hey, could I add one thing, Derek?
Sure. Yeah.
So, to me, anything that you consider a worry is real to you, right? So definitely. One thing that helps me to kind of like put it into perspective is that, and if someone has the actual stats, that would be awesome, actually. But I know that it's a super low percentage of people globally who stutter, right? Um, with that being said, to me, it kind of makes sense that I'm not going to see a lot of people who do stutter, right? If it's like 1% or however low it is, um, to me, that's part of it. But that doesn't mean that we should not um, aspire to be in that position, right? That we should not um, like push ourselves to uh, get there. The thing that I've begun to learn as a leader who was kind of forced to be a leader, um, is the older that I get, the more that I listen, the more that I learn, is that it's a lot more that goes into leading than just speaking. And we, I believe, have a lot of different strengths than people who are more easily fluent. And by that, what I've noticed is because I have a stutter, I'm also a better listener, right? I listen more so than the rest of my peers. It's easier for me to relate to certain things. I pick up better on certain emotions. All of these things, which for me play into leadership, right? Um, Obviously, it's different in the military, but same with being a civilian, right? Everyone needs to be able to listen, learn, adjust how you lead for the person who you are helping. So I would say you already have that technical competence. But if I could just encourage you, I would definitely say look at what else you have to bring with that. Right. It took me a while to really think about what strengths, which it was hard to make this mental switch, but what strengths have I developed as a result of going through the challenges of stuttering and public speaking, right? And so for me, it's just emotional intelligence, listening, being able to comfort somebody when they're going through whatever challenges that they're going through. All of that has helped me to help somebody else. So hope that kind of helped a little bit.
I would just say, I mean, as stutters, we know all about leading ourselves, right? We have to lead ourselves on a daily basis. So, like Greg said, there's so many aspects of leadership and getting the best out of other people, and we have a allow ourselves to have kind of a unique perspective, right, on human nature, and that lends well to leading well, I'd say.
Well, thank you, Ward and Greg for that feedback. I was hoping that you guys would touch on some of the strengths and skills that you developed as a result of being a person who stutters, and you really detailed that pretty well. So thank you for that. Um, so guys, we are actually over our time right now, but um 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 we gonna still have four people left who want to ask questions, and I want to be able to give them that time in order to um to um um to do that. So if everyone is okay with that, can we go a little bit over? If you're okay with that,
Sure.
give me a party hat reaction, just to let me know.
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
I'm fine with it.
okay, got a party hat there. Okay, all right then. Let's continue. Let's continue. So next we have Cyprian. Go ahead.
Hello, hi. This was even even this was very nice. Thank you. So I have a question for Edward and Greg. So in your jobs, you probably deal with situations which are very it, it, time is sensitive, that you need to say something super fast. Could you share how you deal with such situations, that and if you have at that time a block coming? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just hop in. Like I said, in my job, a lot of times what I would say, usefully distracted by things going on, whether it's an emergency or having to plan. We're going to emergency and there's things to do on the way. So generally that helps me speak, when I have to say something really fast. But there are definitely times where I do block in those inconvenient times. And, um, again, I don't know if I have a perfect way of working through it other than just to, again, remind myself after it's over um, that I'm going to survive, and there's more to me than that moment. Um, and so I look to a lot of the stuff I can control. Like I like to say, um, pre-finish line goals and post-finish line goals. But the finish line itself, in terms of that blocking experience, is somewhat out of my control. Um, so I can only take care of some stuff I control leading up to it, and taking care of myself after it happens. Um, I'd say that's where I put the most emphasis for me personally.
I also want to add to that one as well. I know that time pressure is one of the things that's hardest to really deal with as a person who stutters, and it's something that I still deal with. Just talking on the phone, ordering at the drive-through, and something that I have to constantly remind myself of is that I'm not an inconvenience. Like, the way I speak, it just is what it is. It's not an inconvenience to the world. You know, they can wait. It's okay. They can wait um to hear what I have to say, because for so many years I walked around just feeling like it was a burden to even deal with me. And when I, finally um realized what my value is, and that no one is better than I am, simply because I was born with a stutter and they weren't. you know that really kind of gave me permission to take my time. And so it's and while it's still a struggle, I just have to keep making to keep making myself aware of that in the moment, that it's okay. They can wait. They aren't, in a hurry to get anywhere or to pick up a bag of money. You know, it- you know, you know, it's not that serious. They can take a few extra seconds or even a minute, and let me say what I have to. So just that mindset of that you aren't a burden or an inconvenience to anyone um 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 is what really helped me. see.
That was
And
powerful, Derek. Could I add just one short thing?
sure, yeah, sure.
So one thing that I try to keep in mind was it's just a very simple quote that I've heard all around the military, and that is uh, slow, so slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? So I say that because nobody wants it to be over more than me do, more than I do, right? And so the slower I go, the smoother it is, the faster I'm done speaking. So I may have to adjust the way that I speak, that way that it does come out fluent, and it may feel like a tad bit weird in the moment because I'm going slower than I actually want to. But the more that I do it, the more I get feedback about. It may feel slow to me, but it sounds normal to them. So when I have to, I just remind myself go as slow as I need to because I gotta say it. And whenever I do that, the pressure's off because it puts me back in control mentally. So just a small tidbit.
And we use that phrase all the time in the fire service, correct? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I guess just a matter of being intentional about it and reminding ourselves, right?
Very true. Very, very true. David is up next. You can go ahead.
Yes. No, I thank you all for being here tonight. It's been very helpful. This is my first session with this group. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I saw a couple of the last com- comments in the chat, and my question comment was around the telephone, because for me, I feel like the making phone calls is where, I stutter the most, especially if it's with, if it's like making a restaurant reservation, or, if it's with like a person that I don't know, and for me, what gets, frustrating is like when they think that like I dropped off the phone or something like that, where I'm just, trying to say the word or the phrase that I want to say, and like they tend to try and fill in the phrase for me. They tend to step in, thinking that I'm not quite sure of what I want to say when I do. And the person over the phone, it's like they can't see that I possibly have a speech impediment, something like that. Um, so I guess my question is like, how do you get over that frustration, like when others, try and fill in the, words for you, especially when it's like over the phone and they can't, see, that you're, having an issue with, trying to say the word or the phrase. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
I don't know how the other panelists feel, but I know in a former job of mine, I had to make a lot of cold calls, and um, um, I sold industrial uniforms, and U is a sound I block on a lot with hello, and so I called it work apparel, and then they would say, "Oh, you mean uniforms?" And I just say, "Oh, uniforms." But that's but kind of going back to the initial thing. I mean, I literally had some calls where I would tell people, "I'm a person who stutters. I'm working on my stuttering today. Bear with me," or something like that. Just I'm weird because when I talk about stuttering, I usually don't stutter, but I but some of those calls, in those cold calls, it just kind of set the stage, and you'd be surprised at people's reactions. Sometimes people, I never had a negative reaction to that. They're like, okay, they're like, take your time, whatever you guys say, just. And so, I mean, that's an idea, to consider, making a quick little disclaimer, might put yourself in a more comfortable position, possibly.
Thank you, Ward. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Only thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
So for me, I kind of approach it with one. I think most people don't know how to actually handle it, right? Don't know how to be on the receiving end, since most people don't encounter someone who stutters until they do, right? I'll be honest. I try to be a little more compassionate with them, but still direct, right? So I will actually tell somebody, hey, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I don't need it. Nor do I actually want it, right? Direct, but still respectful, right? And then with that, it also shows me like who is going to support me in that moment and who's not, right? So, like I said, one for me, I try to just be a little bit more compassionate. I realize that they typically don't actually know, and they're trying to be helpful. And then I inform them about, hey, I know you see it this way, but this is how I actually see it. So if you did this, or just let me do it myself, that's more helpful for the both of us, actually. um, and a lot of times, they go, okay, that makes sense, and then they begin to um, relax a little bit, and then I think it was Ward, just close it, just say it, just sit up front. They're gonna find out anyway. I rather them find out from me telling them versus they don't know that I feel some type of way about it, and then they laugh at it or they cut me off or whatever it is. So
Thanks, Greg. Sage, did you still want to add something?
Uh, just something, I guess, very quick. The other panelists are more honest and intelligent than I am. When I know that a block is coming, especially if I'm on the phone with the press or a shareholder, and I know a bad one's coming, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I hang up or I make it sound like something fell or maybe I tripped or I just need that moment of maybe like 15 seconds where I can recover and reformulate the words I want to say, and then I would go back and as embarrassed and ashamed as I am to admit it, it worked. It has worked.
I think we all have those experiences, right? I mean, just dealing with the invisible, costly side of stuttering. I mean, we're always making those choices, I mean, and feeling ashamed, I have little crutches I use all the time, just from an energy perspective. Sometimes I just run out of energy to deal with stuttering. And I'll rely on certain, I think, and I don't think there's any shame in that. I think everyone experiences that in life.
I agree with Ward. One of the things I've learned over the years being involved in the community is that just because we all deal with the same thing, it doesn't mean that we all view it in the same way or handle it in the same way. And that's all right, because we're still individuals at the end of the day and still have our own unique situations. So how one person deals with it is different than how another deals with it. And if the outcomes are working, go for it. There's no judgment, there's no shame here. If the outcomes are working and it works for you, hey, it's good with me. So to end things out, we are gonna go with we have Brittany, Carmen, and then a new um we have our final question. Um, go ahead, Brittany.
Hi there. I'm new to all of this, and so this is my first time on a webinar. So
Well,
I am currently in a position where I am going to have to start interviewing actual candidates for uh, like a job in order to start training them. Any tips on being like the person in charge of a panel interview and creating that adequate first impression? Um, I've been, I'm terrified to do it, but I've been thinking about just disclosing to start the interviews. Just wanted to know if you guys had any experience in this, and I appreciate all the information that you guys have given tonight. It's been really inspiring. Thank you again.
thank you for the question. Who would like to
I, I, when I was a supervisor and manager, I was in fact responsible for hiring both professional and support staff for the office that I worked in. Now, I must say, I worked for a vocational rehabilitation agency, so we were working with individuals that had disabilities. So there was a certain understanding that staff may have a disability as well. Nonetheless, what I would say is you're having people come to you to be interviewed by you and or your team for a job. The likelihood is they're not going to care about you stuttering. They're going to care about getting a job, and because you are in charge, they're going to want to impress you. And the likelihood, I mean, from both my experience and I think also sort of commonsensically, they're probably not going to react to your stuttering. And if they do, as I think many of us have said, you stutter, and that's something that you can say in whatever way you come up with that. So,
I personally, I would say, something to the effect of, if you're fortunate enough to get on with this organization, I'm Ward, and I'm the person who stutters as a part of this organization, something like that. Just, and then go on with your questions. I mean, that's what I would personally do, something like that.
If I may add something, Brittany, you asked a question. You were wondering whether or not you should disclose.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I tend to not, but I don't advise it, and the reason is because the few times that I have disclosed, I found that I was so relaxed after that disclosure. I was so at ease, and my stuttering is I mean, the blocks are much less, and I feel like, that suit that I say that I have to put on, being a person who I try to be, I just shed the whole thing. And so once I disclose, my fear of disclosure is only because I fear to lose my job if I do, not fear of stuttering with, in front of people. So you asked if you should, and I say, yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you're like me, it's going to make you feel much more relaxed about it.
I thought it also might help the candidates also kind of feel at ease that they have a person who's trying to be extremely open with them, in this extremely stress inducing environment of an actual interview. All right, I'm inspired. Thanks. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be tough, but I will do it. So
good luck.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
You'll do great.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck.
Thanks for that question, Brittany, and thanks guys for those wonderful answers. So we are going to go to Carmen next.
Yes. Hi there. So I just thought that I would add a couple things. First off, for Gregory and all of those that are in the service, thank you so much for your service. When I came out of college, I went to the Air Force recruiter and I wanted to join, and they told me that I could not join because I stuttered, and they told me a few reasons why they could not take me. So I'm just happy that they changed their policies and that you're in there because it's definitely life changing. Um, my son did join the Navy and he is there in Oahu now, and he's leaving there to go to Japan. So great, great opportunities. So the other thing that I thought I would share is that I've worked for my company for 14 years, and I always acted as an individual contributor myself, working in the corner, doing, I guess a good job because they kept me. And I was offered a project management position, and they came and asked me to be the project manager. And as much as we all have our tactics in trying to hide or not let people know we stutter, they do know we stutter, and it's still possible for them to feel that you have the qualities and the capabilities to do things. And so, long story short, now that I'm in this job for almost 8 months, I did go to my director, who I was a peer with when I first started there 14 years ago. And he was the one who asked me to be in this role. And I just said that my biggest challenge is now having to talk to people in authority, because that is when I'm most nervous. And what he said to me was, um, I am that you have overcome so much by being confident enough to do your job when you know that people know that you stutter. But I have known you for so long, I don't even hear it. So it was like contradictory. It's like you overcame because you were confident enough to do it even while you are stuttering, and he doesn't even hear it. And I just think that people are very in tune to their own issues and what they need to do that day and things like that, that they're not even um, worried about what you're doing. So if I can just have that same self acceptance that my peers do, then it would, be half of the battle. So I just say keep on doing what you're doing because you're probably doing 100% more of what um, fluent people do because we are perfectionists. So keep up the good work in all that you're doing.
Thank you for sharing that, Carmen. I definitely can relate to that struggle with project management. So
Yeah.
I definitely know the amount of work that you put into really growing into that role and being confident
Thank you.
in it. So it's great to hear that.
Thank you, Derek.
And our final question goes to Anu.
Hello everyone. I I have a question uh, that I am actually I'm in the pharmacy school right now, and I will be starting my uh, 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 ro- rotations from July, and which would be in like four hospitals, different hospitals. So, like, I don't like, I'm very open about my stuttering, but my question is that should I disclose to everyone I meet in the hospital that I stutter, or just the main people I'm dealing with? But I do know that be I would be interacting uh, with with the doctors and the nurses over the phone and face to face. So should I disclose to everyone that I stutter, like, or whoever I want to? This is my question. Like, if I disclose to everyone, it would be too much, and then I know that the hospital staff talk to each other, and I don't want them to think me as a crazy that she is telling everyone I stutter.
I mean, I would tell the doctors and the people who are gonna, you know, be the main decision makers. I'd say I'd get comfortable around them probably before anyone else, and then just as far as patients and stuff like that, it's just up to you. If you feel like it'll help you and you feel like you want to, I'd say go for it.
Okay.
But if you can develop that good relationship with the people in authority, right, they're going to have your back and you're going to do well. And yeah.
And I do find that when I tell the person I'm talking to that I stutter, then I stutter less. So I learned this over time that this small technique works. So why not try it? Why not do it? Because it's about me, not about them, how they think. So okay, so I I think it makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh, um, I want to add on to what um what um what what Ward said. I would advise definitely the immediate team that you work with. I think that is very critical because I had a situation um at a previous job where I didn't disclose, and 2 years into me working there, one of my coworkers said, you know what, there, I actually never knew why you spoke the way you did. So for 2 years, this guy was just in the dark, and like he had no knowledge of stuttering. So he was just in the dark for 2 years, just left wondering, why does Derek talk this way? And so I kind of felt bad for him, because who knows what kind of conclusions he came to on his own.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say, with your immediate um, team, that it's a necessity, and anything outside of that, just to your comfort level,
Okay.
or um, um, or if need be, just to do your job. But immediate teams, that for me, that's definitely yes.
And
I
I'm sorry, Frank.
no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, if you have the opportunity for a staff meeting in the hospital where you're going to work, I don't know uh, whether your particular role lends itself to that. But obviously, if there's a group of people that you work with, and you feel free enough to speak up in a staff meeting, and mention the fact that you stutter, obviously that's sort of killing a lot of birds with one stone.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
this idea. Yeah, yes. Okay, I agree. And I ag- I ag- I agree with you, Derek, that on the reason to d- to let others know that I stutter, that because many people don't know about stuttering, I learned, and then I figured when I don't tell them, they make up things about myself in their head, which are not true, which could be true and not true. So I said, okay, why not just stop them thinking too much? I tell them, hey, that's how I am, and that's it. You don't need to think further than this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Yep. Well, guys, thank you for all
Thank you
the
so
great questions. And thank you to the panelists for the great answers. There was definitely some great conversation, and some great wisdom, and some great jewels being shared. We definitely appreciate it. So now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Frank, to give a final thought. Or
I just want to say thank you. I just echo what Derek just said. I thought there was really great conversation. I want to thank Carl and Pam, and I don't know whether John is here, John Moore, but whoever is here for working in the background and fielding the chat and all the rest of it. So we want to thank them, and we want to thank all of you who came tonight, and we hope you'll check out all the other things that we do at the We Stutter at Work. And at that, I just want to wish you all a great night. Thank you.
Can I just jump in? Our next webinar is May 26th at 8:30 p.m. and Eastern time, and it's on the advantages of stuttering at work. So that should be a really good conversation also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, man. And so everyone, really quick, please give our panelists a round of applause. I really appreciate them giving up their time and coming to join us and sharing some amazing insight and wisdom. It was great hearing their own stories and challenges that they face and um, have overcome. And we all just really appreciate you guys and your time. And thank you to the attendees for also joining us and staying with us way past our time. We definitely appreciate your time and and attention. And we look forward to seeing you all next month. Everyone, have a good night, and thank you again.